Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is Anders Core with Boston Global Forum. I have Robert Whitcomb, also known as Bob Whitcomb, who's a close friend. He lives up in Providence. He works for the Providence Journal, or has. He's a bi-weekly columnist there. He's also written for the New York Times, a lot of other journalist pursuits. We're talking today about the South China Sea, China, Japan, Asian politics generally. We had invited Professor Ronald Spector to join us. We will have him joining us later. He was not able to make it for technical reasons. So, Bob, Anders Core with Boston Global Forum. I have what's your Robert Whitcomb, also known as Bob Whitcomb, who's a close friend. He lives up in Providence. He works for the Providence Journal, or has. He's a bi-week. All right, now we've turned off that echo. Bob, so let me know what you think about generally in the South China Sea. I mean, one thing I wanted to talk about with Professor Spector was the 9-dash line, and you know, I don't think anyone that I know really sees it seriously as something that could hold up in international court. We do have that.
Oh, yeah, it's absurd. It's extraordinarily far from mainland China. If you look at it on a map, you start laughing.
Right. It seems like a big tongue wagging down into the South China Sea.
Right.
It's called that big tongue, and it's quite close to a lot of countries: Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei,
right. Vietnam, obviously. Yeah.
And there's been some debate about why it is that China has just recently wanted to put it there and really start making a bigger deal about it. I don't know if it's I mean, my sense is China's a rising military power, so they want to use it. But they've harked back to this line from the 40s and 50s that they promulgated at that time.
That was a line recognized by the nationalist Chinese, who still run Taiwan, in effect, and the Chinese communists. And I think in recent years it's been most attractive because of fossil fuel in the area.
Right. I think oil and gas.
Oil and gas. I think there's some fishing interest too. I think there's some other mineral deposits in the area. So it's very attractive to that. The other thing, which I think is very important, sort of psychological, is the conception of a much wider Chinese empire and an area of influence that extends much, much further. And you can sort of see innovations of this in a lot of recent comments by Chinese historians about perhaps Chinese explore the west coast of the Americas, and just a much, much wider conception of the role of China in the world. I think it reflects that. Also, as a backdrop, even though my hunch is this is probably mostly economic interest driving this in the immediate future.
Right. You mentioned Taiwan. Yeah. Interestingly, Taiwan has the same exact claim, right?
That's correct. Taiwan is the Republic of China. Taiwan.
Right.
They don't really believe it in most levels, but there's one level which I certainly grew up with, where the people on Taiwan consider themselves the true China succession state, the only legitimate Chinese state, and in that structure, they look at these much, much wider frontiers as legitimate.
Right, and then I mean, it would be laughable, Taiwan's claim, except that they don't have a military, right? China's claim, mainland China's claim, is not laughable because they have a military to back it up.
They have a much wider military. Taiwan actually has a very good military, but it's minuscule, of course,
right?
Compared to the
they're not going to be able to project any real naval power, and also they depend on the United States for protection, and so there's no way that they're going to upset the U.S. when it comes to the South China Sea.
Absolutely. Anything they say about the South China Sea, I think, or Taipei, is really, occasional rhetoric. They don't take that seriously. I've spent a great deal of time at Taiwan. The Taiwanese are very realistic. On the other hand, the officials of China really, I think, are quite serious about extending their writ this far. as
Right.
amazingly far from the mainland as it is.
They're not only doing it in the South China Sea, they're doing it in East China Sea. They're doing it
That's
in the
right.
Himalayas near India.
That's right. Yeah. Occasionally there are forays
Like,
which are not even reported along the Indian-Chinese border.
yeah.
Shooting.
So that's it's a worrisome situation, and what I'm also seeing is just a general attempt to expand influence, to expand